Week in review, Monday, April 14th, 2025. We'll start with the dart throw. I hit the board on the left side. Not a great shot, but at least I'm on the board. Last week I interviewed Abigail Domet. It was a fun interview. Really enjoyed talking to her. Second time I've talked to her because she qualified last year. This week, doing a little traveling, but I need to interview some affiliates again, and I will continue and interview the two male athletes who qualified from Mayhem Classic. I'm going to jump right into comments, and that's going to take up the next 10 or 15 minutes. At 77 Rock, Dave, is that how you decide how many reps to put in workouts throwing a dart? Yes, exactly. At Nathan Williams J7C, on the Mayhem behind the scenes, you asked about Cale Layman expressing interest in him because he's an Army guy, which he's a cadet. He hasn't done shit yet, but that's the point. Now that it's been all but proven his open scores are falsified, are you going to show the same interest and get his scores removed by the games team? He graduated West Point. He's assigned to a unit, and I did show interest in that, and I do show interest in him because I know what it takes and I know what it means to actually put your hand up and sign up and go into the military. So that's a big endeavor. That's a big step. It's life-changing, and he has made a significant choice in doing that. And specifically, even going in as an officer and going to West Point, I respect that and admire him for doing that. Now that it's been all but proven his open scores are falsified, are you going to show the same interest and get his scores removed by the games team? I've heard some chatter about that online. If there's a formal complaint or inquiry into it, which I don't think we have had sent to us yet, yeah, we'll look into it for sure. But at this point, I know from what I've seen, it's just a lot of chatter and speculation online. And hey, it might all be true. It also might not be. But at this point, not looking into it. And I still respect the guy for being in the military and signing up for the Army. And so don't have any regrets in regards to that. In regard to his open scores, if it looks like we should look into it, we'll look into it. At Prescott Segi, thanks, Dave, for the CrossFit update. Keep up the good work and be safe. And congratulations to Colton, Abigail, Austin, and Fee for making it to the games. At Jeremiah X2V3B, saw your name assigned to a squad for MDT Hunter Challenge in Arbuckle. Sorry you had to miss it. You planning on competing there next year? As to testing athletes, there are private labs making designer PhDs all the time. It's become a business for some chemists to design a PED for athletes that does not currently have any tests to detect it. So to the first point, I sign up for Arbuckle every year, but every year it just happens to be around the time where CrossFit, we're really busy and we have a lot going on. So this year I did sign up for it thinking I'd be able to do it, but then the Mayhem Classic came around and I had to go to that. So I'll sign up next year, and hopefully I won't have something going on at that same time and I'll be able to shoot it. Because I don't like to travel for matches like that. And since it's local-ish, I can get out there and shoot it. So maybe next year. As to testing the athletes, our private labs making PhDs, making designer PhDs, all the PEDs I think you meant, all the time. It became a business for some chemists to design a PED for athletes that does not currently have any. Of course, yeah. So there's always been designer drugs that are above and beyond what a majority of the testing protocols can catch. But the thing there is, for a long time in our sport, I don't think the money was there where athletes had access to that. For some, maybe for some of the best and at the highest level, they were able to afford those. Not saying that they did, but saying maybe they had the resources. I think for the majority of those in our sport, they're not making the money or at the level to actually afford the designer PEDs. If they are, it's a massive. You need a lot of financial backing, I think, to get some of those or to have access to them, and you need to be obviously well connected. I don't think our sport's that big enough for a lot of the athletes to have the designer PEDs. That being said, if they are out there, and they're probably out there, it doesn't mean we shouldn't test at all. I mean, we still have to test, and we still have to do what we can with what we have. And so, not denying that there's designer PEDs out there. Do I think some in our sport might be using them? Maybe. Do I think a majority or a lot are? No, because I just don't think the money's in the sport for athletes to be using those. At It's Joe 1986, Dave, just heard Drago Dezarian's interview on Sean Ryan. What an interesting story. Did you ever cross paths or work with them in the SEALs? So I was at Team 4 while Drago was at either Team 8 or Team 2. Never worked with him operationally. I knew him. When I say operationally, I mean I never was on a platoon with him or deployed with him. Knew him socially. I don't know if he remembers me, but we hung out a little. Really nice guy. Crazy story. After I got out of the teams, or after I went to various different teams within the team community and then out to the West Coast, I think I lost track with him. But early on in my career, we crossed paths and hung out. And super cool guy. But again, didn't work with him, or I wonder if he even remembers me. But yeah, he was a good guy and crazy story. At Brooks Stillman 5436, I think removing the L1 test in person is a fail. Accountability and intelligence, getting help and looking up every answer basically removes the point of having a test. Here's the deal. Email me, Brooke, dave@crossfit.com. I'll get you a link to take the fucking test, and you can tell me if it's a big fail after you do that. So hit me up, and I'll let you take the test online. And again, it's a test online with systems that are vetted by ANSI or ANSI equivalent accreditation services. So it's not as simple to cheat, I imagine, because of the accreditation that's behind it. So let me know. At Avera 9636, Dave, looking at men 55 to 59 semifinal heavy Isabel. Half of the athletes did not complete a single rep. This means half the field was eliminated from competition for being able to even participate in one of the 5 tests. Do you believe this was bad programming for this particular age group test? I have to believe that this, at the very least, was not your intent. So I think there was 300 athletes or so in the 55 to 59 that advanced, and half of them weren't able to do a rep of the weight. I would flip it and frame it so everyone who qualified was able to do a rep. So ultimately, there's a test of advancing the next level to the CrossFit Games from this test, and of those, everyone who advanced, I am assuming, are in that half that were able to get a rep. So we're definitely sending the right people. In terms of it being a good experience for everybody in that semifinal, I mean, probably those that didn't get a single rep are not happy. But when you look at programming something specifically for the age groups, and specifically as they get further down the line of older athletes, getting it right for everyone is really challenging. And here's why. When you look at the individuals, their ability level is really consolidated and tight in what people's potentials are. As you get older, the ability levels of the individuals start spreading out. And there's some that are really good and then some that are not, even though they're all in the top 2%. And the total number of people in those groups is pretty small. Pretty much after, I think it's a 40 to 45, the number of people in each of those divisions starts tailing off significantly. So the ability disparity amongst those groups widens up. So getting it right for everybody, getting that weight right, we could have lowered it and everyone would have been able to do it. And then the top guys would have complained about the weight being too light. It's a balance. It's something we'll keep working on, and something that I think will go away or decrease over the years as more and more people do this, and more larger cohort has a similar ability level. Right now, the ability levels, specifically in the older divisions, is really wide. Again, the ability levels for the individuals is much tighter and much more consistent. Hey, Dave, I run a competition. I run the competition side at CrossFit Grandview in Columbus, Ohio. We would love to hold a semifinals type event like Mayhem. We have 24,000 square feet. We have nearly 700 members going through our facility. We're holding a competition called The Challenge on May 17th for the teams of 4 who didn't make semifinals this year. If you want to see what we can do with our space, email me, dave@crossfit.com. I'll link you up with our team to put in consideration as an event. Sounds pretty cool. At KEMA, hear me out. How can we trust that you didn't drug test 30 people and only announce the 19 that came negative? Is there some sort of proof that you only really tested 19? Thank you. So you think we tested 30 and then didn't, and then only announced 19, insinuating or suggesting that the other 21 failed. If we had 21 people fail, we would not. I mean, who would the 21 people be besides those 19? Everyone else at the games, and then you're suggesting everyone else at the games that didn't pass we're protecting? That's not what happened here. There's no incentive for us to protect those athletes who potentially, by your assertion, failed. I think it's a ridiculous statement. Eddie, not 4951. Hope you're well. It may be a bit early to say, but I was just wondering if there are likely any commitments to continue the 2025 games season in the following years under the new owners, whoever they may be. As many have mentioned, consistency in season structure remains a key request from the community. It would be great if part of the transition from the current to the new owners included a commitment to maintaining that season consistency for both the community and athletes. Here's a good answer to that. I have no fucking idea. I have no idea who's going to own this. I have no idea what they're going to want to do with this sport. And so for me to sit here and say, yes, you're going to have consistency in the season will look the same next year. Yeah, who knows? I was talking to someone else and they asked something similar. They said, well, with the new ownership or with the potential new ownership, do you think there'll be more of an emphasis on games media in the game season? And again, it's like, we don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's going to own this. I don't know who's going to buy this. There could be 100 different directions it goes with new ownership. So, no clue. I don't know. I'll recommend, if they want my recommendation, I'll recommend we continue with this new season. I mean, I think we should do the new season, and then we have ways to evolve it to include maybe playing with some of the percentages a little for maybe 2 to 4% or 5%. Also, what we're doing with the qualifiers, like at Mayhem for individuals, expanding that with a few opportunities for age groups and teams. So meaning you can do age group and teams online, but also there's like maybe a couple events, just like the individual path, where they're given spots to the games. So that's kind of like an expression or an evolution of the current design, which I think is really good. But also someone who buys it might not think that. At Gymming at Home Fitness Adapt 2991. We are yet to see any of the out of season testing results, so check out last week's. I talked about that. 2 months before the season. 2 months before the season starts is not actually out of season. 2 months before the season starts. So he's saying the tests that we did at the beginning of the year are not out of season. Dopers usually get off 3 to 4 months before the season starts. Here's why I'll say it's out of the season, because so you're suggesting 3 to 4 months before. So if we started testing and you're saying the season starts in February, we should have tested in November. This year we didn't test in November, but many years we have. I don't think a lot of athletes, we've been kind of inconsistently consistent with when we test. So I don't even think athletes expected us to test in January or February of this year at all. So there could be a strong argument made that January, February, March is out of season, because there's been years where we've only tested at the in-person events, and those are much later, so call it May. And then obviously the games in July, August. So you could view this, if you're an athlete thinking we're not testing this year, as out of season. Any word on the L4, specifically if when it opens back up, will it look like the practical version or will it be a test? It's going to look very different when it opens back up. It's not going to look like the current test or the practical version, but hopefully we'll have some more word on that shortly. But I think it'll be a good evolution of what we're doing, and good for all level 3s who want to level up and take the level 4. All right. That's the week in review. Thanks. Leave your comments in this comment section, and I'll try to get to them next week.